Welcome everyone on this, the 7th Sunday after Trinity, to Billy Parish Church. Black lives matter? Yes, they do, each and every one. And one man who proved that by his life and work was Dr. David Livingstone, one of the most famous Victorians. He hated slavery. He knew that slavery hindered the proclamation of the gospel in Africa, so he went out to Africa to rid the land of superstition and fear, to tell them of a loving God. But then there were white men from so-called Christian countries who rounded up the people like cattle. How could he speak of a loving God who knows his children by name? Livingstone vowed to break slavery through education, through religion, through science, through technology. He wanted Africa to stand on its own 2 feet, to be able to trade fairly with them. But as he went inland into the heart of Africa, he found that other empires, other races had got there before him, treating the indigenous population as beasts, indeed less than beasts. He showed great personal bravery and courage by cutting the bonds of slaves personally, and then was horrified to find that slavers were using his own name to lure people into their traps. His enemies would tell the unsuspecting, "We are friends of the doctor," but of course they lied. For everyone knew of the great doctor, even if they had never met him. So how could the good doctor answer natives' questions about Europeans? And a genuine question is this: white men tie us up, they starve us, but you cut the ropes and feed us. What sort of people are you? Indeed, what sort of people are we indeed? What sort of God of slavery had Europeans brought to Africa? But Livingstone battled on, determined to bring education, to bring Christianity, to bring modern progress to that continent, and to find the source of the Nile as well. He never did reach it. He was found dead in the attempt, kneeling at prayer, and his lonely death fired the imagination of the world. Slavery's days were numbered. His great mantra, the one thing he said over and over again in all his tribulations, was, "We are all children of the same loving Father." Livingstone taught that because the Bible taught it, because Jesus taught it, and it appears the United Nations also believes it. Did you know we are halfway through the International Decade for People of African Descent, which ends on the 31st of December 2024, and the theme of the decade is recognition, justice and development. Now, critics of the church have described Christianity as a slave religion, slaves following a slave. And yes, Jesus was crucified as a slave. But what we must never forget, Jesus turns all human relationships upside down. He asked, "Who is greater, the one who is at table and the one who serves?" And in the logic of the kingdom of heaven, the greatest is the one who says, "Lord, I am an obedient servant. I have done only my duty." The same Jesus who insisted on washing his disciples' feet, the same Jesus who had nowhere to lay his head. We are not slaves. I hope that name will pass into ignominious history, but we do need to rediscover our servant mentality. Hannah's going to read you the text of Livingstone's tombstone, which can be found in the nave of Westminster Abbey.
Brought by faithful hands over land and sea, here rests David Livingstone, missionary, traveller, philanthropist, born March 19th, 1813, at Blantyre, Lanarkshire, died May the 4th, 1873, at Chitambo's village, Ilala. For 30 years, his life was spent in an unwearied effort to evangelise the native races, to explore the undiscovered secrets and abolish the desolating slave trade of Central Africa, where with his last words he wrote, "All I can say in my solitude is, may heaven's rich blessing come down one on everyone, American, English, Turk, all who will help this open sore of the world. Other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice.
Livingstone's funeral in April 1874 was a national day of mourning. Everyone knew his story. Everyone knew the story of the American journalist H.M. Stanley, himself hacking his way into Central Africa to find Livingstone and indeed to offer to bring him home, but he would not come home. And so he died, an evangelist and a missionary, a great man of faith. And at his funeral was sung this hymn: O God of Bethel, by whose hand thy children still are fed, who through this earthly pilgrimage hast all thy people led. Our vows, our prayers we now present before thy throne of grace. God of our fathers, be the God of their succeeding race. Through each perplexing path of life, our wandering footsteps guide. Give us each day our daily bread, and raiment fit to provide. O spread thy covering wings around, till all our wanderings cease, and at our Father's loved abode our souls arrive in peace. Such blessings from thy gracious hand our humble prayers implore. Be thou to us, O Lord our God, our portion evermore.